I decided I wanted to do this part here. The brochure on the district conference, it tells you the DoubleTree, it tells you a lot of information, but it is in Mount Vernon, and it got, oops, sorry, we had an oopsie, we all read it, there was like 3 of us reading it, and it just went, jump. You know how that is, you really can't prove your own. So I guess we should have had somebody out to so, you know, if you're not going to remember Mount Vernon, please write it on the brochure. And I've been saying that at my district visits, you know, just say, okay, it happened, you know, so many of you know, and I think because I have been saying, my year, everything is in Mount Vernon. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that we just sort of overlooked it. It was just so ingrained in us. Also, we're going to do things a little differently today. And just so that you know, some of you have asked about it. I'm going to turn it over here in a minute to Lanny, and he's going to give his report. He needs to do this. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to hand out the checks for the district grants. Now, here's the way this goes. When he gets ready to do that, Jeff is going to come up and hand them out. And I will be standing over here in the corner, over here. And we're going to have Dave Matthews taking the picture for the district. And we're going to have Ken Cooley over there. And if you want a picture for your club, hand him your camera or your phone, and he will do it. We're going to ask you to go straight, walk along the wall, and come out this way. And that way, things will move very quickly. And I don't think anyone is going to argue we get out just a little bit early. So. But now, after the pictures, I do have closing remarks, but they're very short. I guarantee you. Okay, I'm going to turn it to Lanny.
Earlier this morning, I mentioned 2 different MOUs, one that you signed 2 pages long, and the one that we signed 5 pages long. One of the clauses on that 5-page document points a finger directly at me as the foundation chair, and it says, I am obligated, it was must, not may, I'm obligated to give an annual district grants report to the clubs. So here it comes. It's both financial report as well as documentary report, I believe. So, I believe these are in pretty close alphabetical order. And about 25 slides here because there were 25 grants. The top is the name of the club and the name of that particular grant program. 2 or 3 or 4 pictures, depending on how many pictures were available from their final report. And down at the bottom, significant, the financial details. And I have a summary sheet at the end of this. And the lower left, we gave Belleville $1,600. Wow. Belleville spent $2,589 total on their project. And it impacted 2,600 people. If you were in this room a year ago when I was handing out these grants and I talked about that final report deal where it asked how many people were impacted by this, I remember saying to you, give us a number, don't give us the whole town. Don't give us 100 plus. It's kind of hard to add numbers when one of them is the whole town. So, most of you complied. But anyway, so we had a bridges program, Sensory Garden. You're going to see varying qualities of pictures through this thing, I have to tell you, and it's a technological issue. When I started looking at pictures, 4 or 5 of the final report pictures are basically thumbnail-sized pictures. When I looked at them in the Finder, they were 2K, 2,000 byte pictures as opposed to 2 megabyte pictures.
They're blurry. They're blurry.
So some of these, I tried to blow them up a little bit, but I went past the max and they got really blurry. You'll see that. I don't know who to talk to about a year from, next February when you start turning in pictures. Try to give us high quality pictures if possible. Not the little thumbnail dailies. All right? So that was Belleville. Carbondale did a project in a Haitian hospital. Interesting. You mean you can use district grant money outside the country, outside the district, outside the country? Yes, you can. I don't know why it's moving on its own. Maybe I'm going to have to sit myself over there and run it manually. All right, so Carbondale purchased some laundry equipment, maybe even some stoves for the hospital down there, maternity hospital. We gave them $1,950. They spent over $8,500 on the project total and served 500 people. That's worth applause, and at the end of this thing, when you start seeing the last slide, which is a summary down there, the two numbers, how much money did we give away and how much money did clubs spend? We'll talk about leverage later. Carbondale Breakfast planted trees. We gave them $1,950. They spent over $2,600, almost $2,700. 1,000 people served. Carlisle bought a foreign language software package for their town library. We gave them $1,950. They spent over $5,000. They spent exactly $5,000 for that subscription for that software. And they expect that it will serve 1,500 people in the community. Gives kids or adults actually the chance to learn a foreign language right there in the public library. Fairfield added a building to the sports complex at Frontier Community College. We gave them $1,950. They spent just over $4,000 on that project. And they expect that it will serve over 2,100 people. Good accounting there, right? Fairview Heights Midday and Fairview Heights Rotary Club partnered, which is, by the way, skipping ahead. This project would have, they got $3,900 because they partnered. Okay? Just one of those benefits of working with another club in your area. Dog Park Edition. We gave them $3,900. Together they spent almost $6,000. And they expect that dog park to serve 5,000 people.
But they never said how many dogs.
Who asked them how many dogs? I'm sorry.
The whole town.
One dog is worth 7 people. Flora had a skateboard park, but they added a shelter to it. We gave them $1,950. They spent over $7,400 total to serve 150 people in a skateboard park. Hamilton County wanted to develop a promotion at the edge of town to highlight some of the clubs and civic organizations in town. So we gave them $1,950. They spent a total of $5,193.
That serves the whole town.
Yeah. I think they did. Thank God they didn't say the whole town. Jackson Williamson County. Specialized Equine Services.
Well, that's cool.
And unfortunately, these are some of the slightly blurry pictures here. Looking at small versions of these were really nice shots of what was going on there. We're talking about people who would have trouble riding a horse on their own. Okay? We gave them $1,950, they spent over $3,000. And they expect that it will serve 500 people. Lebanon Rotary asked the elementary school what they needed, and they have a new software system that allows kids not only to listen through headphones, but some of the headphones have microphone booms. And their language arts teachers, kids can record stories. They're uploaded automatically to a secure cloud. Teachers can listen to those stories and help with speech problems, speech development. So, Lebanon got $1,700. They spent $2,573, and they expect that to benefit 300 students in the Lebanon Elementary. Marion made some extensive additions to the local park. We gave them $1,950. That picture is a composite collage, if you will, of some of the improvements that were made on the park. They spent over $10,000 on the project. And I'm betting that that's the whole town also. The Schooner wanted to do some improvements to a fairly derelict and neglected cemetery at the edge of town. I believe they built the fencing. We gave them $1,850. They spent over $3,700. Relatively small cemetery. Metropolis. Laptops are popular in schools, but they wanted to target a slightly different purpose, if you will, an after-school program for use with these laptops.
Okay, now you're 200. Yeah.
We gave them $1,950. They spent just under $3,500, and they expect that it will serve 80 after-school kids. Monroe County, interesting project. Let's see, if I remember that correctly, a local shelter. They wanted to fill used suitcases with personal supplies and goods for kids that are checked into the shelter. So they would have, in effect, they'd have a suitcase and they'd have supplies in it. On Carmel, literally a playground relocation. And I believe this may be from one school building to a different one, or maybe to a town park. And once it got established, they wanted to put mulch in the new park facility. We gave them $1,950. They spent over $5,200. They expect that it will serve over 300 people. Mount Vernon and Mount Vernon West partnered to work at the Lifeboat Homeless Shelter in Mount Vernon. There was a sort of a playground between two wings of this facility, and it was in derelict condition. They wanted to partner, upgrade the equipment, and make it much more user-friendly. The facility actually has a men's wing, a women's wing, and then women and children. We gave them $3,900. They spent over $5,800, and they expect that it will serve 100 people in that facility. O'Fallon Rotary built both the fire pit that you see in the center picture, as well as the pavilion startup on the left. We gave them $1,950. They spent.
Really?
Yes, this is a longer-term project.
I think that's called a Rotary Pavilion. Oh, it's amazing.
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm going to go back and check my.
What's the
records on
question?
that. I have a blank up there on how many people served on that.
It's the whole town. Well played.
I thought that was service of both self. Wait a minute. The O'Fallon Sunrise did another tree project, a forestry project. We gave them $1,950. They spent $66.65, and they expected to affect 30,000 people in the town of O'Fallon, in what Metroplex perhaps area. Salem added a park bench with the Rotary logo on it. We gave them 1,000. They spent $1,578 total for the bench and the installation to serve 300 people. St. Clair County Sunset worked, and I believe continues to work at the Joseph Center. In this case, they were adding, what do you want to call that?
Pavilion.
A pavilion attached to the building.
Yep.
Along the edge of the building. A lot of other cleanup things going on separate from this particular project. We gave them $1,300, they spent $2,000, and they expected to serve 50 people in that facility. Swansea, an outdoor sensory garden for students with autism spectrum and other disorders. I believe it includes a butterfly garden and some other gardening projects, some elevated gardening to do. We gave them $1,950. They spent just under $4,000 to serve 29 people. West Frankfort found out that their school could use some equipment. And I think I need to probably tell a little bit different story on this one. West Frankfort did not originally apply for a district grant back in March. They missed the certification process for it. They didn't make an application. They just sucked it up and let it go. It turns out that one of the grant projects that we funded couldn't be done, couldn't even be started. That club turned their money back in, $1,000. Talked to me. I gave them a week to see if there was a replacement project for $1,000 in their area that they could do. They couldn't come up with something in a week. They literally wrote a check back to District 6510 Foundation, and I talked to Jill. And it just happened about a week before I had that conversation with Jill. She had been in West Frankfort. She said, "Oh, really? I think we can do this." We did an emergency certification process with 2 people in the West Frankfort Club. Got them certified. And while sort of simultaneously, they're talking to the school about, can we get an order in fast? Can we do this? Because we're now talking about late May, early June to get this project done. So we were able to get it under control. We gave them a $1,000 grant. They spend over $3,200 total to benefit the school district, and they're expected to serve 500 people in the West Frankfort area. All right, here's that summary.
Wow.
We had a contingency fund of $198 that we didn't need to spend. So we wrote a check to the Rotary Foundation at Evanston, and that shows up as income for our global grants for Janice's year. Okay? It's kind of like in and out. Now, all those district grants that you just rolled through, we gave away over $46,000 for last year. But look at how much money was actually spent in Southern Illinois. And there's where my word leverage starts to happen. Okay? Those are 2 fairly impressive numbers. A lot of good things happening in communities all over Southern Illinois. For about 20 years probably, that $100 per person in the annual fund has been sort of like the gold standard of level of giving. And this morning I asked you about take your club membership times $50 and see if you can reach that goal for polio. So now I'm going to ask you to take your membership times $100. Can you reach that goal for annual fund giving during Janice's year? Okay? Our track record, you can see. I'm very proud of the fact that as a district, we've been able to stay above $100 per person for the last 4 years. There is, however, a little bit of a storm cloud brewing here. 130, 127, 109. Pardon? Yeah, well, this is, the next 2 minutes are going to get uglier. So we just finished talking about giving away 46,000. In another 5 minutes or so, I'm going to start handing out checks here that'll total, give or take, a couple bucks at 50,000
That's crazy.
for the grants that we're starting right now. So there, do you know who your club president is going to be a year from now? Because you notice that number? 47.5. And then it gets real ugly.
We had $9 first.
For 2021, you may not know who your president and your club is going to be. But remember I mentioned that 3-year cycle this morning earlier? I already know that. When June 30 locks down on 17-18, that turns into 2021 money. Okay? Now, the ugly part of this comes right down here. For the last 2 years, we've been getting requests for $50,000, $51,000, $52,000. So how are we going to fit $52,000 worth of requests in $40,000 checking account? Something's got to happen, and I put the word fix on that line. How can we fix it? Well, if we could roll back the clock to May and June and give another $40,000 to the annual fund, we could fix it. But it's too late to fix that 40,000. It is fixed. It is locked in stone, basically. So the grants committee is going to have some tough decisions about how we're going to fit $52,000 worth of requests. And you notice a lot of those were, a lot of the grants that we went through in that financial report were 1950 instead of 2000. We made a decision that year, we didn't quite have enough, but it was close. We decided if we just take $50 off of everybody, we can just barely squeeze it in. But how are we going to do that? My math says that's 40,000 is 80% of 50,000, which means basically 20% cut on everybody, on all grants. And then we can start talking a little more about the four-way test in terms of what is variable concern. Because here's what I can tell you about the year that just finished and the grants that I'm starting to hand out. I think there are 25 grants total that we'll be handing out here in the next 15 minutes. Of those 25 clubs, half of them met or exceeded that $100 gold standard, and the other half didn't. And it ranges all the way from $68 per person down to $4 per person for a club. So tough decisions. This isn't pretty. How are we going to distribute $40,000? And can we mitigate the problem looking into the future? And the only way to do that is to try to keep hitting at that $130 per person district average in order to keep up in that $50,000 range for grants. I've been very pleased, seriously. I've been very pleased. 10 years ago, I think we were only giving away $23,000 in district grants. And maybe only 12 clubs applying. We doubled that, or more than doubled that, which is great news for Southern Illinois communities. But we need to keep up with the annual fund intensity. I'm not sure what else to call it. But just keep it moving, keep it moving. All right? So a challenge to you, your leadership teams back at your clubs. Can you hit $100 per person average in your club? Okay? All right. It's time.
Danny?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm a little bit confused. So when we do every Rotarian every year, we push for $100 from, at least $100 from each member. Is that, when you say annual fund, is that what you're talking about?
Every Rotarian every year is targeted very narrowly. It is just the annual fund.
Okay.
TRF giving is
Donating
annual, polio,
and employees.
endowments.
Yes.
Okay.
$1,000.
So Lanny, I think clarify though a little bit more, because I think that's where people really get confused about the whole global giving is all, and that the annual fund is totally separate from the polio giving. So that when the grants are being looked at, it is the money that is specified for the annual fund, not, because people will ask all the time, so it counts for the foundation when I give to polio, but it doesn't count for the annual fund, correct?
That is true. Polio money is earmarked specifically. And by the way, the polio money doesn't sit in an investment account for 3 years like annual fund money does.
But you know, they've been.
It's pretty much in this month, out 2 months from now. Rapid turnarounds, bring the money in, put it in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nigeria, use it now because we need it now. But the annual fund is a separate fund. Polio and annual are two totally separate funds. The third fund that's totally separate is the endowment fund. What do you think of when you think of the word endowment? Somebody died. And what happened? Something in their estate was designated for a longer term process. Okay? And yes, Rotary does have an endowment fund. Carl mentioned it earlier this morning when he talked about $400 million in actual cash in the bank and on investment, and another close to 800 million of expectancies, which I tend to call commitments. That again is separate from the annual fund. In a typical endowment fund or a foundation fund situation there, the principal is not pulled, it stays on investment. It's only the results of the investments on that big fund that Rotary Foundation can use. So when they say there's 400 million right now, that 400 million is going to keep growing. And the proceeds that actually come from investments on the 400 million are plowed back into Rotary programs. Whether it could be, some of it could be designated for polio, some could be designated for some of these other global grants, maybe peace fellows or peace centers. Any other questions along those lines? Yeah, there's a lot of tentacles there, but the annual fund is specific, and it's the only one of the funds that returns money back to us for our grants, for district grants. Got to be the annual fund for district grants. I saw a question.
Yeah, would you quickly summarize how the Bill Gates money comes in and how it works?
On the polio side, let's say your club writes a check, could be personal, could be you, but your club writes a $500 check to the Rotary Foundation, memo, Polio Plus. It gets to the foundation in Evanston, they log it in, they give your club the credit for the $500, and at the end of the month, they turn in a financial report to the Gates Foundation, and for that $500, Gates will give us $1,000.
2 for 1.
Right. Yes. For that way to get formal pictures with Janice over there. So Dave is going to be running the district camera. Ken is going to be a volunteer status there. If somebody in your club would like Ken to take the picture of all the club members that are here with Janice, Ken will take that picture on your machine. Okay? One of the sheets of paper that Jeff is going to hand you looks like this. It is a checklist, if you will, thinking 8 or 9 months down the road when you're trying to do your final report. It's pretty chronologically oriented, and you can use it as a checklist. The 2 things I want to tell you right now: financial records. Make sure you keep them. Make sure you scan them. Make sure you get them on a hard drive safely so that you can upload them later. Pictures during the work days. Action shots. Rotarians in action. But take this along. This will help guide you in making sure that you are doing all the things you need to do to be ready for a final report. All right, so you set up the way you need to set up there. And if we have representatives from Anna Jonesboro here, come on up to Jeff, get your checks and final report. The name of their project is Hadley's Memorial Park. It will be designed to be an accessible park for all kids of all abilities and their parents. It's named after a young girl who lived about 4 times longer than she was supposed to, but still succumbed. So, there we go. Take that over to the other picture station and we're off. Next is Belleville. Is someone from Belleville here? Yes, they're coming. Carl mentioned it this morning. I think it was Carl. Free little libraries. They're doing these little miniature book boxes around the Belleville area, public areas. If there's such a thing as a book desert, they will try to target a book desert. I've seen these things with a little sign. Borrow a book, lend a book. Cute idea. All right, next is Carbondale Breakfast.
We'll get the check, but you will.
Carbondale Breakfast. They are working with the Touch of Nature Environmental Center to add a mountain bike trail, which is actually designed to work in the foothills in the park. Carlisle Club. By the way, I should have been announcing most of these are $2,000 grants. Anna Jonesboro was $2,000. Belleville was $1,475. Carbondale Breakfast was $2,000. Now Carlisle is doing a $2,000 grant for a handicap swing in their existing park. $2,000 there. Centralia. Centralia is getting $2,000 to add batting cages, a pair of them. They are 12 feet by 70 feet long, concrete pad with soft netting to secure the kids who want to pitch or hit inside the batting cages. $2,000. Columbia is next.
Hey, you have the Centralia, Tina, do you have 2 cards there?
Yes, I'm taking Columbia's money too.
Good that Jeff is watching and matching up checks.
Columbia was almost ripped off there.
Columbia is working on a Strive program for their senior high school. It will involve high school seniors with low performance, with Rotarians acting as mentors. It'll be a $2,000 grant. Flora had to leave earlier, so they've already been given their check and taken pictures earlier. They're doing a dog park in Flora. The next one is Freeburg. There he comes. Freeburg is getting a $2,000 grant to help with financial assistance as well as some construction and work at the fairgrounds to upgrade 4-H pens and facilities. Hamilton County. $2,000 grant called Hungry Hearts and Minds. They intend to provide 6 weeks worth of sack lunches to students and adults throughout Hamilton County. Lebanon. Lebanon's grant is titled Each One Feed One Egg Project. This one is an international. It will end up in Kenya. They're providing the building materials for a chicken coop, plus the purchase of 125 laying hens for a school that houses children of AIDS. And we know medically that those kids need more protein in their diet than most. This school has been buying eggs every week for these kids. We're hoping to be able to provide a self-sustaining egg supply. All right, that was $2,000. Marion is next.
Marion? Yay, Marion.
Marion has a $2,000 grant to add handicapped access sidewalk and some maple trees to their existing Rotary Amphitheater. Muscuda, $1,867 is the grant, and it will work in partnership with a budding, fledgling, but not yet official Rotary Club at Scott Air Force Base. They're going to add a flagpole to a park that exists on the perimeter of Scott Air Force Base. Metropolis. All right, Gary's coming, Joe's coming. Ah, there we go. A $2,000 grant to help outfit 4-H cooking classes in their elementary school system, Massac County 4-H. Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon has a $2,000 grant to help provide washers, dryers, ovens, toiletries, and supplies for a sort of a newly founded pop-up homeless shelter called the Family Life Church Shelter. Mount Carmel is next. Mount Carmel is getting a $2,000 grant to replace, basically, an out-of-date scoreboard at the Don Little Baseball Park. It'll supply scoring for all baseball and softball in the community. Next is O'Fallon, a $2,000 grant. This one is going to add benches, planters, some tables at the Park and Rec Center in downtown O'Fallon, $2,000 at the City Center. Can I take a real quick break and ask you all a question? When are you going to deposit your check in the bank? The answer is yesterday. The answer is Sunday. The answer is July, not August.
Do it now. Get rid of it.
Okay? Before Rotary takes back their money. No kidding. Just kidding. But I'm not kidding about get it in the bank in the next 3 days. Okay? O'Fallon, Sunrise, and Monroe County are working together with a $3,000 grant. Now I have to tell these two people one of the headaches I have with multi-club grants. So this is directed mostly at these two clubs. Here we go. It sounds like this. Only one check gets made out to the host club. But we do expect reports from both clubs. All right. Next is Redbud. Redbud has a $2,000 grant for the Life Network of Southern Illinois. It's a pregnancy resource center. And they're going to provide a curriculum titled, and I quote, Earn While You Learn, for expectant new parents on parenting skills and life skills. Salem is next. Someone from Salem.
Salem?
Anybody from Salem? Would you do that? Thank you. There's a $500 grant for tree planting in a kind of an unusual circumstance. Their city has its own arboretum, basically, that they use to supply trees when they need replacement throughout the village. So this grant is going to supply new trees to the arboretum, which will end up being spread throughout the community later. $500 there. Sparta is next. Anybody from Sparta? Coming. Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay. There. A $2,000 grant for the Rotary Park Beautification Project. They have a footbridge across a small creek in this park that's been deteriorating. They're going to replace the footbridge, and they think they have enough money left over to add a coat rack in the community center. Also, $2,000. Next is St. Clair County Sunset. St. Clair County Sunset. She's coming. This is a $1,335 grant to help supply security cameras and upgrade the security system in their school district. And then we go to St. Clair County West. St. Clair County West. There he comes. $750 grant to help fund the Steve Cease Scholarship. And I believe this is the startup of that scholarship, am I right? Get it started. I think many people in this room know and remember Steve Cease. And we have Swansea. Swansea has a $2,000 grant to help continue the Police and Fire Youth Academy project. It's a 3-day academy for youth that takes them through fire skills, policing skills, community action skills, extrications, fairly detailed. All right, we have another partnership here between West Frankfort and Jackson Williamson. West Frankfort, Jackson Williamson. Again, the check is made out specifically to the host club, but we expect the financial reports to balance between the two. I can tell a story about that. 3 years ago, the first time I encountered a joint grant, I made out the check, let's just use fictitiously, I made out the check to Lebanon Rotary and Muscuda Rotary. Well, take that to the bank and try to deposit it. Live and learn. So we decided immediately the host club is the one that's going to take care of the check. And the two clubs will participate from there. All right, so that was a $3,000 grant for the Night Shield Child Center in West Frankfort. It's a referral system. They're looking for improvements and upgrades. And my last check goes to Williamson County Heartland. Williamson County. Anybody here, Williamson? If not, do we have another assistant governor that could?
Terry?
Maybe. We'll check on Terry once.
Terry, is this?
Is Williamson County Heartland your club, Terry?
He's here.
This club is an iPad
Are you
project,
the AG for this?
and it's going to be targeted at learning disabled students for a $2,000 grant.
I can hold this, but it isn't.
All right, we just spent $50,000. I'll be looking forward in my final report a year from now to see if we ended up spending $150,000 district-wide. So, that's all that I have, and I think Janice just took her last required picture. So I'm going to hand the microphone back to Janice.
Okay, we're getting ready to wrap up, and that's looking towards the future. First, tomorrow, we have a baseball game that we sold tickets for. And I was up at Grand Rapids, and I was talking to several of the district governors, because that's a multi-district effort in selling those tickets that goes to literacy, and in our district, it goes to the scholarship fund. And I know it's tough on selling a Sunday night game ticket, because a lot of people have to go to work Monday morning. So I came up with this little light bulb idea in the middle of the night, and I pushed it out there to the presidents, and I said, what about your club buying 2 tickets? If you can't get someone to buy them, take them to your local radio station, do a Rotary ad, and give away the tickets. It fits into my idea of getting Rotary's name out. And we call him Baseball Rod, the one that gets all this together, from Springfield, Illinois. And he sent an email to me thanking our district for the effort, and we did get them all sold, so we didn't have to eat any tickets, thank goodness. So I don't know how much money is yet coming into District 6510 for our scholarship. That'll come later. But I want to thank all the clubs who worked so diligently to meet the goal of getting those tickets sold. Second thing, district conference, I mentioned it, it's in Mount Vernon. Every time I go to my club visits, we talk a lot about the district conference. Please remember, it's not on that brochure, but it's Mount Vernon, make sure your club knows. I'm not going to go through the big spiel that I go at the Rotary, at the club meetings, because you already heard it, or you're going to hear it. And so, another project, and Tom, where's Tom Beaver? September 4th is Carlisle's, right?
Yes.
That's my last one. Wow. I'm going fast and furious, folks. I'm going fast and furious with this, so. But I haven't, the reason I did that is because I have a passion for the foundation. And we are going to be looking at doing a foundation event this spring. You're going to be hearing more about that. And let's see. You know, something went in my head I was supposed to mention. I can't think what it was now. Oh well, it'll get out there. So, have I look around? Oh, Tom wanted to mention something. Maybe I'll think about what I was going to say by the time you get done.
That's for last too, because your all $50,000 happened during my year as governor. Yes. Most of you know that Barb, my wife, and I hosted 2 boys from Belize several years ago during my year as governor. The younger of the 2, George Cal, has graduated from high school and wants to go to college. Now I know you all have been asked for a lot of money. You always get asked for money. I'm going to ask for one more time. For those of you who would be interested. For my wife's little birthday. She doesn't want me to mention her name, but it's a milestone. It's a decade. I won't say any more. She put on Facebook asking if there would be people willing to donate to the George Cal Scholarship, because George comes from a family with very low financial means. He and his brother and family live out in the bush in Belize. And so, if we can help him at all get to college, we'd like to. He'd like to be a civil engineer. That's quite a goal for a young man who we helped. And my wife made the comment, she said, you know, we do all these things to bring these kids up here medically, I don't want to say repair, but help them lead a normal life through their surgeries. And then they go back to Belize, and what happens to them? So we're trying to raise some money to create a scholarship for George to go to college. And my wife has a goal out there on Facebook, and if you want to look at her Facebook page, you can, Barb Giebert. But if anybody is interested at all, we would appreciate your help. And I know this might take away from this or that or whatever, but I know for some of you out there, you probably do have the financial means. So if there's anything you can do at all to help out, I don't care whether it's $10 or $100 or more, you know, the money is going to go into the District 6510 Charities account. So it is a charitable contribution. And those funds are going to be directed directly to George's account at the University of Belize. Barb and I are going down this Saturday, next Saturday, and spend 4 days down there to help him get set up with an account, talk to the registrar's office, make sure that the money is all going to be used strictly for tuition, books, and fees, so that he does not, or his family, does not have access to those monies. So if there's anything you can do at all to help, we'd appreciate it. You can either donate online, or you can just send a check made out to 6510 Charities and mail it to myself or Barb.
And what was
All
the
right,
goal?
the goal is $2,000. We now have about $1,300. So we're getting there. The $2,000 in American dollars equates to 4,000 Belizean dollars. And that would take care of basically 1 year. So if you can help at all, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. I remember one thing I forgot to say.
Okay.
And that is, I did mention the district conference on the calendar on DACDB. You can now register for it. It is live, and don't forget to get your hotel rooms at the DoubleTree. Make sure you say you're coming in for District 6510 conference. Okay? So, I think that's all that I have, and I want to thank you all for coming today and for all the work you do, not only in your communities globally, but in yourselves. Thank you.